if I'm going to invest this $40,000 or $100,000 in the stock market and just watch numbers go up and down versus buy a car that I've always wanted, and maybe the numbers go up, maybe the numbers go down, but at least I'm going to enjoy it a little bit in the process. I think that it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Hey, so welcome back to another episode of In the Driver's Seat with ABS. We like to joke here on the podcast that we add one piece of equipment to every podcast. In this case, we've added an entire studio, and we're here at Westside Collector Car Storage with the one and only Matt Farah, who's been very nice to let us borrow his studio and his time today. And we're so excited and happy to be here. Thank you so much, Matt.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, man. This is a cool opportunity, and it's nice to have you guys here.
For me personally, I've been a huge fan for so long, and I think that you've been a big inspiration for us with our YouTube channel that we've grown in the last couple of years with all the videos that you've been doing for really 15 years at this point, I would imagine.
Yeah, since 2006.
Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah, even
Long
some
time.
of the early stuff with that you do with like Rob Ferretti and all those videos. I mean,
Yeah, don't do any of that at home. Very dangerous. It's a very bad idea. I do not recommend it.
Gets the clicks though. But Matt, I think to me you're kind of the epitome of how you can really take advantage of the car world. And I meet a lot of people, especially my age, who work a desk job. They may not be as happy as they could possibly be, but you seem to have taken car reviews and the stuff you used to do in Connecticut and taken it to the next level with this. I mean, how has that journey been for you?
Well, it's been a good time.
I hope so.
Certainly.
Yeah. Damn.
There's I don't have a lot of complaints about it.
Yeah.
I think it's important to kind of understand that I took advantage of a certain type of medium at a certain time and really was able to parlay that along, sort of riding that wave of the trend of self-creating, self-publishing, and also in the beginning we were really trying to get on TV.
Sure.
That's what we thought this was going to be. We thought we could have a YouTube channel and that would get us a cable show or something. We didn't realize that we would have to outlast the cable show.
Right.
And YouTube has itself changed in quite a few ways in 15 years, and we've had to adapt to that. We haven't always been successful. And also it's important to recognize that I'm a privileged human. My father was a very successful businessman. He's now retired. He's been on our podcast a few times and is always good for business advice. And it's not like he funded my ridiculous lifestyle, especially in the beginning. But he, when you have a parent or parents, that are successful and supportive of your work, meaning they are encouraging you to chase that dream, it gives you the confidence to say, I'm going to do this even though it has an uncertain future, versus I need to do something that's much more traditional, because if I don't, I'm living in a cardboard box. And so I'm not ashamed of where I came from. It is what it is, and I'm happy that I had parents who were loving and supportive of me and my endeavors, and they said, if it doesn't work, you're not going to live in a cardboard box, But so there were a lot of risks in the beginning, and I was able to take those risks, and not everybody has that opportunity. And so if they don't, they have to develop being a content creator on the side. And that becomes very hard, because in order to be successful at it, you really do have to treat it like a full-time job, and
Of course.
that means the creation of the content, but also the things that are behind that. And it's very difficult to do that if you're focusing on, you know, a day job also.
Yeah,
you
right,
know?
Sure.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the idea of, you know, having a backstop is very, it helps tremendously, but the content that you've always put out has always spoken for itself. So
Thanks. I mean, you know, look, my parents didn't make the videos.
Exactly.
I made
That's
the
what I'm
fucking
saying.
Yeah, yeah.
videos.
You put in the work.
So it's not like the work wasn't done, and the work
Yeah.
was done, and we prided ourselves from the very beginning of learning the skills that you need to do it. I mean, it's very important to know how to edit video, to know how to what SEO is and how that works, to know how the back end of YouTube works and analytics, and those are a lot of things that really anyone can learn, and in most cases anyone can learn them for free, either with online tutorials or with tutorials that are offered by the software makers themselves, or by shadowing other people, and so it's important to figure out a complete skill set.
yeah. Do you feel that now that you're at a certain level, you kind of have the freedom to do more of, I don't want to say challenging yourself, but taking new directions in certain ways you do videos, and
yeah, the challenge is always changing because YouTube is always changing. In the beginning, YouTube was about growing from nothing, getting into the partner program, and I was one of a few pioneers in the automotive YouTube space.
Absolutely.
And so I got a good foothold and was able to kind of get ahead. And then it was about growing your subscriber base. Get people to subscribe, get people to subscribe. It was all about your subscribers. And then we learned very quickly that it was the volume game. It was just number of views times math problem equals money. And so it's just the more views, the more views, the more views, the more views, the more views. And by cranking out an enormous volume of videos, I was able to game that system. And the word game isn't entirely accurate because it's I was creating real content. I wasn't just doing something that was like fiddling with the numbers. It was making videos. I figured out that I could micromanage my own personal time in a way that really optimized for time in versus money out. Mm-hmm. Then YouTube changed their algorithm again, and the volume didn't matter anymore. And what matters, starting in about 2019 through today, is engagement and watch time.
Yep.
They used to only have you do one ad at the beginning of the video, and if people watched through that ad, that's how you made money. Now they pay you way less per ad impression, but you can put, an ad every 90 seconds. And so if people will watch, for instance, we just did a video with the GT3 RS. Yeah. We did a video with my Mach-E. Mm-hmm. 2 videos, totally different topics. GT3 RS video has about twice the views of the Mach-E video. But the Mach-E video, because I told a story over road tripping, has about 4 minutes longer watch time. The Mach-E video with half the views has twice the revenue.
Wow.
Interesting.
And also it comes into play, no one, if an advertiser is choosing where to put their ad money, right now EVs are hot.
Yep.
They want to advert. So the demand for an advertiser at the back end of YouTube's auction is, and this is getting a little into the weeds, but the bottom line is, it's about your watch time, your engagement, and then what your content is covering, and is that content desirable to advertisers?
That's quite interesting because when you did the Dakar video as well as the GT3 RS, I think those 2 videos
everyone, from Donald to everyone at the Audrain just kept talking about how amazing that Dakar video was, and the review of the car and your ultimate take on it. And same with the GT3 RS. I mean, they did that track day at Thermal with all the different, journalists, but I kept going back to your video because I thought it was the most engaging and the most.
Sure.
Yeah, and
I appreciate that.
Well,
That's
it's
very
surprising. Kind. Well, with the Dakar video as well. Were you seeing that same?
People, I got a lot of great compliments about the Dakar video.
It really
incredible.
paints the picture. Yeah, you get a sense through both videos of what really is going on with those cars.
Sure, and I appreciate that. And it was right before that video, which was filmed at the end of January, where I met with our YouTube statisticians and analysts who were saying, one guy looked at the numbers and the other person was looking at what is topically pertinent. And the numbers guy said, you guys have been doing this sort of one-take thing for a while, and that format was great when you were cranking out the volume, but other people have understood now that this low cost of entry, low production value thing can be done by anybody, and it's saturated that market. And what is really working right now is is telling a story that builds and releases tension throughout the video in key ways that keep people watching further into the video. And if you tell a good editorial story, like, I grew up watching Top Gear and Anthony Bourdain.
Yep.
So I'm heavily
Top Gear is
inspired
exactly what I felt.
by those two kinds of mediums, right? And so by doing and also, by the way, it's important to understand that Porsche provided B-roll for a lot of that. I was by myself at both of those. And so I did as much as I could do with my mounted cameras. I did as much as I could do with the iPhone. A lot of that Dakar thing was shot on my phone.
Yeah.
And I did as much as I could do, but without the high production value support of a manufacturer, that's not doable, really. So I can't do it all the time. If it's me and Zach shooting locally, we can get most of the way there with enough time. But so I combined the thing that I can do well, which is tell a story. And there's a couple things I can do well. I can tell a story in writing. I can tell a story on video. I can combine the two to really craft a story. And then with good quality editing and in some cases some manufacturer provided B-roll that adds another level of professional flavor. And Porsche especially does a great job. I mean, they hire my friend JF Musial to produce all their B-roll. And so when JF goes and I know I'm going, I go, hey, what does your B-roll package look like? And he says, okay, well, we've got most of our shots are of this colored car. So when you go, make sure you get in the Martini car because 80% of the B-roll is the Martini car versus the other car. And we've got this and this and this and this. So you should focus on this and this and this and this. Yeah. And then you'll have
want that continuity.
You'll have total coverage.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think for me, watching your videos, what I've really enjoyed over the years is you provide a really real world explanation of the car, and it really feels like the passenger, aka the viewer, is riding along with you. How did you perfect that over time?
By being a regular person.
I was going to say something very similar. I mean, I've gravitated towards your videos because personally, I like to think of myself as a non-bullshitter, and you come across as very straightforward. And I think a lot of the characters in this world are acting. And it's clear to see
you're
that,
a real driver.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, thank you very much, but there's other people who are better drivers than me. I'm a club level driver, and I'm okay, and I practice, but I'm not the best. I'm fine. I can hold my own and not embarrass myself. But that I'm not trying to pretend I'm something I'm not. But I think you've got sort of an East Coast New York no bullshit sensibility, combined with someone who is a collector and a consumer myself, and also like, a lot of people that write about cars or make videos about cars, they talk about things like lap times and stuff like that in the real world doesn't matter to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And there are other folks who are, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody in particular, but there are other folks who are a different person when the cameras come on. And so I, for better or worse, can only be myself. I am unable to act.
Yeah.
If you saw me try to act, it would be a fucking horror show.
Yeah.
And I'm also unable to mute myself when I am saying what I feel and what I think. And so I'm fortunate enough that I've had enough experience and education where if I criticize a car, it's not entirely out of left field. People could certainly disagree with me, but it's not like I make unfair criticisms of cars. And so I've done it long enough that I've earned the respect of the people that put me into cars and also the audience. I mean, there's certainly people that disagree with me, and most of them, although the internet and social media are full of hyperbole, most of them don't think I'm stupid.
No.
I certainly haven't gotten everything right my whole career, but that I'm human. But it's just, I don't know. I mean, part of it, I suppose, could be a little bit of natural talent that I just have for talking, and other part of it is practice. And
well, to me, it's the communication style that resonates. I mean, it's clearly not an act. You know what you're talking about, but the way you deliver the information, it's not. The editing's great. All the technical background is fantastic, but it's the natural way that you communicate and get the message across. Like, when you and Chris Harris were at Drive, that's when really I got into cars, and both of your directness, not afraid to say the wrong thing. It shows you what really matters in the driving experience, and that's what people at the end of the day are looking for, not fancy cuts and crazy colors and all this crap.
I mean, sometimes they are looking for those things if they help craft a story. I mean, I think I proved back in 2015 when I started doing that picture-in-picture one-take thing that I could talk about a car for 20 minutes while driving pretty fast and not sounding completely stupid. There's a lot of people out there that are professional grade that it takes them like 30 minutes to get through 4 minutes of in-car because they just can't get their line out, correctly. I can. The reason I started that whole thing that I called One Take is because people like Chris Harris and Mike Spinelli and JF Musial used to call me One Take Matt on the set of Drive because I could go out and come, if the monologue was 5 minutes, I'd come back in 6 and they'd go, "Are you done?" And I go, "Yeah." And they look at it and they go, "Yeah, he's done."
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that can be learned. It can certainly be practiced. I don't know if that's just the one little gift I have is to be able to do that.
You've got the gift of height too, by the way.
Of height, yeah. Which sometimes it's a curse. If you have a Lamborghini Countach, being tall doesn't help.
Yep.
But
I was a basketball player, so that's why I'm here today.
So I mean, and getting to work with guys like Chris. I mean, Chris is really. His videos are great. His writing is great. But I'd spent a few years working with him directly, and he was an excellent mentor. Yeah. And he doesn't have the gig at Top Gear by accident. It's not just because he's a very good driver, because there are lots of very good drivers. But, Chris is the total package deal. Driving, writing, talking, and also a head for production and cinematography, and that's why he's got that gig. And so getting to watch him work and learn directly from him, and should I say it this way or this way? Should I put the car here or here? Is very, very, very rewarding.
Yep.
When did your car passion start? Was it something that was acquired over time? Did you instantly like cars as a child? I think the three of us kind of have similar stories in terms of our obsession. When did it really start for you?
For me, it was instant. As soon as my dad brought me a car magazine when I was like 5, and I learned that cars could be special more than, you know, whatever my parents were driving me around in, and I just started reading about them as soon as I could read. My grandmother would tell me that I could identify cars by their wheels because it was all I was like tall enough to see, and I would memorize the stats, the 0 to 60s, and all this stuff. And I'd make my parents take me to like the dealerships when I was a kid and sit in all the cars and, you know, all this kind of stuff. And when I was like 10 or 11, I would I would ask my dad to take me to parking lots where I would drive, you know, his car around the parking lots, and he was like pretty good sport about that. And I started like racing go-karts, not like real seriously, but racing go-karts when I was like 10 or 11, and it turned from a love of knowledge to a love of driving. And I just tried to always drive everything that I could get my hands on, and you know, when I am passionate about something, I have a great way of absorbing that knowledge and retaining it. So if I'm not interested in it, I'll forget it in 2 seconds. But if it's something that I'm passionate about, whether it's cars or shitty 80s action movies or you know, the set list that Pearl Jam played at Fenway Park in 2016, you know, I will retain that in a way that people will find bizarre and somewhat superhuman. So it started with that when I was a little kid, and then I nurtured that, you know, in a way that.
Yep. I always tell kids, like, you know, we deal with, you know, we meet a lot of young folks in the museum, and you can see like they're, you know, trying to figure out what they want to do, but it's like, do something you're passionate about. It turns learning into something that really changes your life.
Yeah, and
it shows
you're going to be doing it for a long time. If it's your career, you might as well try. You know, not everybody is fortunate enough that they can explore their passion as a career, right? Someone has to do jobs that might not be so fun. But if you have the choice and you can start early going down that road, and if YouTube never happened, I probably wouldn't have this job. So at the time, and YouTube didn't launch until I was 26, and so I went through my entire education, high school and college, thinking that being an automotive journalist, like someone I was reading in Road and Track, was impossible.
Yeah.
These are not regular people that do that job. These are superhumans, and I don't like writing because the only writing I've ever done was for English class. I never got a chance to write a car review or anything, and certainly no one ever said, if you're good at talking, you can write like you talk, even if it's not grammatically correct, and it will still be good. You know, no one ever told me that, and so it didn't seem like something that was possible. But then when YouTube came out, and it was a self-publishing platform that you don't need anyone's permission, you don't need some producer, you don't need a director, you don't need a TV network to go, yes, this goes on the air, but no, that doesn't go on the air. It's just, here's the thing, you know. Once that became a thing, the rest of it became possible. And so you gotta kind of be prepared, even if the thing isn't there for you yet.
Well, I think saying, you know, you're writing, when Ken Block unfortunately passed away, your article that you released, I think it was like only a few hours after.
It was the same day I wrote it, 90 minutes.
It was
I got a text message like 3 minutes after we found out he died from my editor, who was like, I'm going to need you to write this. I was like,
but the way you wrote
this first?
the way you wrote it was spectacular, and that was like the only article I actually read because it was, you know, you wrote it, and then the way you wrote it and the way you summed up his life was so perfect. Like, I even quoted it, I think, right out in the podcast, right after the way you said, even if you didn't know Ken Block, you knew him. Right?
Yeah, well, he was a major pioneer in what we all understand YouTube to be now.
Yeah.
And he was a very nice man. I didn't know him that well, but we would see each other at events and stuff, and we would chat. And one of my best friends went to work for him in August of last year, and so he was with him for 4 months, and then he died. But yeah, that's to be asked to eulogize somebody is always a challenge. To be asked to do it for somebody that is such a legend on such short notice was particularly difficult, and I wouldn't want to have to do it again. I hope I don't have to write too many eulogies.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you enjoyed the piece, and I got a lot of nice.
I shared that with a lot of people.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it was I think the most read piece on the site that month, which is I guess good, but I'd rather he was still alive than have the most read piece on the thing. But thanks. Yeah, I mean the writing for me came after videos. It wasn't a lot of people start as writers for websites like Jalopnik or whatever, and then they decide they want to make videos.
Yeah.
And they learn the hard way that not everybody can do both.
Yeah.
And I've figured out, fortunately, that by being pretty good at making videos, I could write like I talk, and even if it's not always grammatically perfect, I get lots of nice comments from people who go, I read that, and I could imagine you sitting here talking to me and telling me this story. I heard it in your voice, and so that's a very nice compliment.
Yeah, that's great.
How important is the next generation of car enthusiasts to you?
Oh, it's everything. Someone's got to buy these cars when I'm ready to sell them.
It's not going to be me. Sorry, man. It won't be me.
So,
of course, it's extremely important. And my audience has, for the most part, aged with me. And so when I was starting and I was 28 to 30, my analytics said that I was talking to people who were my contemporaries, and now I'm 41, and that is really the meat of our audience. So you could look at it and say that those people have grown up and stuck around, or maybe because of the topics I cover, I'm speaking to an older audience. Maybe it could be that's who's on that platform. I don't know. I don't know a lot of people under the age of 20, but the ones that I do know, they don't spend a lot of time on YouTube. They're on TikTok or whatever. And frankly, I'm too old to learn a new platform.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
I don't even want to, honestly.
No, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Sean figured out where the Reels.
I didn't even know how to look
where
at
the Reels button
on
on Instagram was the other day.
Yeah. So what's happened now is as everyone has tried to chase TikTok, you've got Instagram Reels, you've got YouTube Shorts.
Which is like the new thing, right? That's like...
Yeah, and no one's figured out how to make any money on it yet.
Yeah.
And so, but what you do have is the sub-industry of people who see the trend and go, oh, you're not doing enough of this. You should pay me to recut your content. I probably get 3 emails a day. Wow. From not from like automated bots, from real people, probably all over the world, who go, you're not taking advantage of Shorts, you're not taking enough advantage of Reels, hire me to recut your shit. And I have a cut and paste response that says, actually, we do those things already. And you know what happens? You don't make any goddamn money. And so it's for me, and also places like Instagram and TikTok will shadow ban your posts if it becomes clear, if their software recognizes by using phrases like link in bio, they know that what you're trying to do is get someone off of Instagram and onto YouTube, or off of Instagram and onto their website.
Wow.
And so they will not show people that post in their feeds. So it happens all the time. It happens to us. It probably 15, 20% of our posts get shadow banned.
So stupid.
And then you take them down and you repost them again. You remove that
little
Link in
clip.
bio.
It's fine.
I think our account is, we have about 40,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel at this point, and we're trying to grow the podcast account. But what I find super interesting is a lot of like the I don't want to call them dumber videos, but kind of just like goofy stuff, and that's what the algorithm picks up and just really takes. As someone who is such a renowned journalist and someone who's frankly very intelligent, like what do you think of all of this short form content that I don't want to say doesn't have meaning, but really doesn't have meaning?
Well, it's as someone who, when I was younger, there were no cell phones. I remember a time before the internet, period. I remember my first email. I remember when internet became Wi-Fi. I remember, like, I was there for all of these steps. And so it sucks, kind of, that the internet has reduced our attention span. I'm also a victim of it. I scroll Instagram and Twitter like everybody else. I have consciously stayed off of TikTok. I have friends who are gone on the TikTok and they're like, oh, it's so addictive. And I'm like, well, thank God I've skipped that.
It is super addictive.
And so I think it's a shame in some ways that we get our information from shorts, from headlines of articles as opposed to the articles. I try to read books. Doesn't make me better than anybody, but I try to force myself into long-form, thoughtful content. I try to create long-form, thoughtful content. Fortunately, podcasting, which is something I love, is the exception to a lot of that. Whereas people might not want to watch YouTube videos, but they're perfectly happy listening to a 3-hour podcast.
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting dichotomy where people are looking for either very short form or very long form content. So I'm glad that I've diversified myself so that at least if I don't want to do one, I'm perfectly happy doing the other, and I can earn something of a living doing that. But I've also, as you can see, because I park cars here at Westside Collector Car Storage, I've also kind of accepted that eventually the things that I really enjoy doing won't be cool anymore, won't be a good way to make money anymore, and I've hedged against that by having brick and mortar businesses. So there'll be a time when I'm just the old guy who used to be a thing, and that's okay as long as I can feed my family. I've accepted that, and that's fine. And there's TikTok people that I've never heard of that are getting tens of millions of views. They're going on press launches now. I mean, I've been on press launches for the GT3 RS. There were multiple TikTok people on the press launches, and I'm not better than them, and they're not better than me. They're just riding that wave. When I started going on press launches, people were like, YouTubers on press launches, and now that's the standard. And now TikTok is becoming the standard. And so it is what it is. And I hope that the young people don't lose all of their attention span. I hope that they can understand the value of that, and I hope they can understand the value of being a craftsman. I mean, something I really do worry about is that people that make really good money working on sports cars, Porsches and Lamborghinis and Ferraris, are having trouble finding young people who want to do that work. Yeah. And people don't realize they can make a lot of fucking money doing that.
Yeah.
I think kind of to tie it into Audrain, one thing that really excites us as younger people is our 30 under 30 class that we do at the Concours, where you're under 30 years old and you have to buy and build a car for less than $30,000. I think that's super exciting for us because a lot of our peers have built these cars, and I think it's inspired at least a lot of people that we know to actually build cars. I mean, that's exciting.
Yeah, I agree. And I didn't get to go to the Audrain Concours last year. I forget where I was. I think I was on a road and track gig, but I do plan to come this year. It's a great show. It's a great week. I had a great time. I met some great people, and Newport is such a perfect place to host a week event like that. Not to mention I can take my dad's boat.
I know, that was the best part.
Which
when
rules.
you came to Cars and Coffee.
I took the boat to Cars and Coffee. That was pretty G.
That was
that was
so
great.
epic.
Yeah, that was pretty
I
good.
texted you and you're like, "Oh, I'm rolling in my boat."
I'm docking, and so that was cool. But that class was really interesting, and if you the variety of vehicles, from stuff from the 20s to stuff from the 80s, and I think having those types of classes that are focused on younger people is great, because it's not about just having a car anymore. It's about to a certain degree, community building, and whether it's Audrain or whether it's a road rally. I mean, there's people that buy cars to specifically to get into events, like you guys have the veteran run.
Yep.
Why else would you buy a car from 1904 other than to do events like that, and
Right.
or the Copper State 1000 or the Milli Millia, or like at the higher end, of course, but having events that are for vintage car enthusiasts but younger and on a budget, I think is a great thing to be doing, and I definitely respect that you guys and other folks as well, people at the Revs Institute and the Peterson and even the Automobile Driving Museum here in LA, which is the museum that nobody talks about because it's not the Peterson.
Yeah.
They're all trying to figure out how to get people involved, and that's very important.
Well, and I think you saw with COVID especially that people are buying cars now really to feel engaged. It's something we talk about a lot. The people are buying cars to experience the thrill of shifting gears or experiencing a car that they grew up lusting after, and putting the top down and enjoying a long drive when they couldn't go outside and gather with people.
Sure, and also there's when when things like when the traditional investments in the stock market are unstable, and when people unfortunately are dying prematurely.
Yep.
It becomes a sort of thing of, well, life's short. What am I saving for?
Yeah.
And if I'm gonna invest this $40,000 or $100,000 in the stock market and just watch numbers go up and down, versus buy a car that I've always wanted, and maybe the numbers go up, maybe the numbers go down, but at least I'm going to enjoy it a little bit in the process. I think that it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Is that when people came up to you with your new 718 and you're modifying it? That's probably exactly what you said, right? You wanted to make the car exactly how you wanted it.
Well, I've modified that car so much, I'm not sure how much of an investment it is.
That's what I mean. But what I'm saying is you're making it exactly what you wanted.
Right. I have other cars that are investment / enjoyment cars. I didn't buy a Countach hoping that I could drive it every day.
Absolutely.
That car, I love driving it. I drive it whenever I can reasonably. Yeah. It's a point A to point A car. It's useless for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a fantastic thing to drive on a nice day to a car show or whatever. And so I try to drive it whenever. And oh, by the way, it's worth twice what I paid for it. So job well done.
Yeah.
But with my 718 Spider, I saw the trend that is happening. The next, I don't think Porsche is going to stop making manual gearboxes, and I think they're probably going to make gasoline powertrains for their GT cars for a little while longer. But I've driven everything, and I think the 718 Spider is the best car that Porsche makes. It's not a perfect car. It's the best car they make, in my opinion. And there's a company called Demand Motorsport in New York, and they make it better. They put in a bigger engine that is a lot more powerful. They change the gear ratios, and so they're shorter, and so they they fixed the only two problems that I had with the car: slightly underpowered, and now it's massively overpowered, and then the gear ratios, and then I did a couple other little tweaks. I put the GT4 side scoops on.
Looks fabulous.
I put some lightweight HRE wheels on it, and just some little cosmetic things. But for the most part, I wanted to build what, in my opinion, was the ultimate modern Canyon Carver's Porsche, to sort of complement the other things in my collection, which include two exotic cars from the 1980s and a BMW E46 M3 that has such low miles that I'm actually kind of a bitch about driving it, because that car I would actually be able to drive the value out of it if I wanted to, and maybe that was the wrong move, but I still think that was a good investment. And the once a month I drive it, I enjoy it, you know. So it rounds out that collection, and I don't know how much longer they'll be making the Boxster Spyder. Maybe a couple of years, but maybe not. I don't really know. But when I sold my Safari 911, I did very well on it, and it was a fun car, and I didn't sell it because it was an investment, but I have bad knees. It had a very heavy clutch, and so it became kind of tough to drive around. And so I sold it and did well. And I said, well, you know, it's sort of maybe now or never with this Spyder. And so I got the car I wanted, and I have certainly no plans to sell that. That car is amazing.
Yeah, the frosted berry metallic.
It's going to be, you know, the Luftgegalt guys.
Yes, of course.
They Pat and Howie and Jeff, they got kind of annoyed seeing thousands of water-cooled Porsches in the parking lot outside Luft.
Yeah.
And so Luft 9 is in San Francisco April 29th, and they've added a second day called Air to Water. And it's water-cooled cars. So it's
fabulous.
they get rid of all the air-cooled cars. They bring in the water-cooled cars.
That's
great.
That's going to be the day afterwards.
Yeah.
Sunday, April 30th. Same place. And so my car will be featured in that. And
That'll be super cool.
Yeah, and it's a very interesting car. You know, the color.
It's great.
It's great. It's the perfect color for my taste and for the sort of subversive nature of this thing. Is super femme looking, but has this insane race motor in it. And also it's an extremely rare color. They sold less. It's not a PTS. It's a production color.
Oh, okay.
It was free.
Oh,
and
no way.
But it sold. Oh, you know, you got to be pretty brave to get that color.
Yeah.
And so they sold less than 10 of those. So it's a very rare car. And of the 10, only 2 have comfort seats. And so with the Spyder Classic interior, so mine is accidental. Almost unique, but it's
you got to get
close.
the comfort seats. I'm all about that.
You do have to get the comfort seats.
Everyone says bucket.
And actually, the other one with comfort seats has the red top, not the black top. So it is a unique build based on a production color. So as far as it's not why I got it that color, I got it because I wanted it that color, but as an investment grade vehicle, if I were to hold on to it for a long time, bright colors do much better than boring colors on resale.
Was that car? Was it the same? The car that was on the boat, was it that color?
Identical.
Yeah.
He said when you were going to rebuild the car, you know, do you want to change anything? And I said no.
Yeah. So I got to.
The only difference was the car that went down on the boat had ceramic brakes.
Oh, okay.
The replacement car was after the Ukraine war. They couldn't get ceramic brakes, so they
has them now, right?
Yes, I sourced my own ceramic brakes. They're OEM. They were brand new, and I managed to make a few phone calls and convince someone to sell me OEM brakes.
That's awesome.
And then I had the calipers painted. They came yellow because they all come yellow, and I had the calipers painted carmine red, which is the GTS red, which matches the frozen berry very nicely. Yeah.
That may be a forever car for you.
I mean, I don't like to say that because I've said it a couple times and I've looked real stupid when I sold the car. I will own a car for exactly as long as I find it interesting and rewarding, and then when I'm over it mentally, I'll sell it at no reserve auction, let it fly, and that'll be that, and I'll move on. But this, as far as driving dynamics, this is the best car I've ever driven straight up. It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Do you think, and I feel like with the modifications that you've done, it's what, 450 horsepower?
568 horsepower and 450 torque.
Jesus. Okay. Do you
That's
think
in the crank, not the wheels, but
it's
yeah.
still insane?
doesn't
Oh, it's a
matter.
ton.
It's plenty.
Yeah. It makes as much power as the GT3 makes at the crank at the wheels.
That's
It's
nuts.
mental.
Do you think, and I feel like as of now, the 500 to 600 horsepower range is kind of the sweet spot. Do you think that cars are getting too fast and just too ridiculous?
I mean, it's not that I think horsepower should be legislated necessarily. I think that there's not really a great way to say this. I think that in a lot of ways, the cars are ridiculously powerful and in many ways have gotten faster than the ability of drivers to control them. I also think that they're too heavy, which is an opinion that the general public disagrees with me on. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Purists care, but most people don't.
Well, it's all the commodities and
Well, it's
picture
about how
comforts
much
and-
tech you got in the car. They don't want to
Safety.
give up any tech or luxury in exchange of making the cars lighter. And they don't want them to cost more to be lighter, if they have to have carbon fiber or whatever. A McLaren 720 is very light, but it's very expensive, right? And so, I think that it's cars like, it's not surprising that Tesla Plaids are involved in a lot of head-on collisions and front-end collisions. People drive them into stuff it's not like if you have a McLaren 765, that's probably not your first sports car.
Yeah.
You probably work your way up to something like that.
Yeah.
But people go from Priuses to Tesla Plaids.
It's insane.
Yep.
And so it's specifically, I think, with the electric cars being so powerful, people can go a lot faster than they thought, and what does kind of concern me is that well-off parents are buying things like Tesla Model 3s for their high school kids, and the high school kids have no idea what they're getting into and how to control this car. There was just a terrible accident last week in Mamaroneck, New York, which is right up the road from where I grew up, involving some kids that went to a school that I used to play sports against.
Oh, yeah. I
where
heard
all
about
5
that.
of them
Yeah,
died.
they all died.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a kid
It's awful.
was driving a Model Y Performance, 16-year-old kid.
Didn't have a license.
Yeah, I don't even know if he had a license. It
didn't.
might have been a permit or something, and hit a tree at like 90 miles an hour, and all of them died. Now, I don't know how this person ended up driving the car in the first place. Was it the parents' car and they were out of town and he took it and joyriding, or was that his car? But like, I've heard many times about kids getting Teslas and stuff for their children, parents getting Teslas, and I think that they could end up putting their kids in really fast cars, thinking that they were safe. Like back in the day, when that B5 Audi S4 came out.
Yeah.
A lot of parents, because I went to a ritzy school. I went to Rye Country Day School, which sounds as snooty as it is, And the parents at this school, by the way, were like the worst people imaginable.
Yeah.
Like literally, they wrecked the economy. It was like CEO of J.P. Morgan, CEO of Bear Stearns, CEO of the Sacklers, the opiates people, like in a row. The CEO of the train company that fucking derailed in Ohio.
Yep.
I went to school with that guy's kid. All the worst people you can imagine sent their kids to school, and the kids, a lot of the really rich ones got A4s. Okay. You were a rich kid, you got an A4, you got an E36 BMW or a Jeep Grand Cherokee. That was the spectrum for a really rich kid. But a lot of those kids, 4 or 5 of them in my year alone, convinced their parents to get them the S4. And every one of them was totaled in the first 6 months. Because they just didn't understand the car's dynamics, and the parents didn't know really what they were getting the kid. And I see that being the same thing with electric cars, and to have these really fast cars in the hands of people that not only are not trained drivers but have no interest in being trained drivers it could be a recipe for.
As someone who's used to sell Teslas, I can confirm this.
Yeah.
The amount of people who would go, like you said, who would come to me and they would, I've never spent more than $20,000 on a car, and would plaid Model S or at the time P85D.
It's just it is what it is, and it's to build a 1,000 horsepower gasoline car. You need a big engine.
Yeah.
It's inefficient. It's all this extra money and resources.
You know what you're getting.
But I spoke with Peter Rawlinson, who was the CEO of Lucid. The difference between a gasoline engine that makes 200 horsepower and a gasoline engine that makes 1,000 horsepower is probably a 20x cost multiplier. The difference between an electric motor that makes 150 horsepower and an electric motor that makes 1,000 horsepower, you're probably talking about $200 to $800.
Yep.
And so the power is a side effect of the range. And so if you're gonna have a car that can do a 400 miles electric range, there isn't really a downside to you, car manufacturer, to putting that upgraded motor in there and also making it able to go very fast. It doesn't make it less efficient when you want efficiency.
Yeah.
And it doesn't affect the cost of the car that much. So I don't entirely blame these people for selling 1,000 horsepower cars. The economics of it do make sense, and it's certainly something to brag about in your marketing. But I do think that it's a possible recipe for disaster in terms of the training of our drivers.
Yeah. And I mean, so I'm a big motorcycle guy, and I have a Ducati Panigale, but
Wow.
I've been on two wheels since I was like 5 years old. So I'm 25, so 20 years of, two-wheeled experience. And there's a lot of people that approach me and they're like, hey, like I'm looking to get a motorcycle and I see that you have a Panigale. Like, I know they're like a little pricey, but should I get one? And my answer is always
Hell no.
no.
Yeah.
You should get a 250.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that doesn't have any power. And it's
Yeah, I mean, that's, that happens a lot, especially with motorcycles.
Yeah.
People don't really understand how fast a
they
bike
are.
is.
Yeah.
And I've tried to talk people into getting smaller engined motorcycles. Couple times they've listened. Couple times they've worked their way up to faster stuff. And in one case, someone said, I'm learning to ride. Should I get, I want a Gixxer? And I go, you should not get that. And they got it anyway, and they crashed it on the second day and got really hurt, which I don't want, you don't want to say I told you so to somebody in the hospital, but like, damn, bikes are really, really fast. But I think once you experience a really fast bike, all of a sudden you understand why, why you shouldn't have bought that. And I like slow bikes. I ride a Vespa.
Yeah.
I love riding motorcycles, but I have no desire to go really fast on motorcycles. So I like slow motorcycles, and I'm fine with that. I don't care. That monkey in the lobby, I ride that.
Yeah,
it's
that
great.
thing's epic.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I have no problem riding those things, and they're fun, and I like that. And the same thing, like when cars had gas engines, I would always, for myself, buy the biggest engine that's available. But I have an electric car now. I have no interest in the fastest one, because even the middle one is more than fast enough, and I'm almost never hitting full throttle anyway. And so it part of it is you have to cast your ego aside, which fortunately, as someone who is full of self-loathing, I have no fucking ego. I don't have an ego to keep. Fucking take it. I don't have any of it. I hate myself. That's why that's how you become good on camera. You have to hate yourself. That's a key, crucial talent. And so I'm able to not have an ego about whether it's my pink car or my Vespa that I ride around or any of that other stuff. And it's I don't see it as a competition. And so that's I don't even know how we started here, but yeah, don't buy a crazy fast motorcycle.
No, don't do that.
Even a slow motorcycle is still pretty fast.
It's super fast.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, I know we're running out of time, and I think we had a really good conversation today, and thank you so much for allowing us to come here and spend time with you. So if you like videos like this, remember to like, subscribe, comment, share, and we'll catch you in the next
Hit
one.
the bell.
Hit the bell.
Hit the
Gotta
bell.
hit the
Hit the bell
bell.
icon.
Thank you guys for coming, and I'll see you in Newport. When is the Concours this year? Do we have a date yet?
That last weekend of September.
Last week in September.
Yep.
All right, I'll make a point to do that. We got to make sure the slip is available.
Oh,
yeah,
we'll
take
yeah,
care of
we'll
it.
get you.
We'll
Block
get you a
off the
mooring.
slip.
I'll get you all this. I'll
Yeah,
get
it's
you.
next to Nick's.
Don't worry,
right next to
Yeah, oh,
Nick's
sure.
boat.
I'll
Yeah,
get you
yeah.
everything. Don't worry.
Yeah,
I got you.
yeah.
I took care of you last time. I'll
We'll
take
send
care
Sean
of you this
out
time.
on the
That's right.
rib, and he'll get you on the mooring.
yeah, tell me.
Yeah.
I'll
Thanks,
take care
guys.
of you. You
Thanks,
don't have to
Matt.
worry.